Have you ever just stopped and thought about the painful paradox of modern life? Seriously, we work incredibly hard. We obsessively make all these plans. We set huge, ambitious goals. But despite all of that motion, we constantly feel like we're totally stuck, like we're going absolutely nowhere. It's exhausting, isn't it? Well, in this explainer, we're going to unpack a classic that hits the nail on the head regarding this exact feeling. Have you ever just stopped and thought about the painful paradox of modern life? Seriously, we work incredibly hard. We obsessively make all these plans. We set huge, ambitious goals. But despite all of that motion, we constantly feel like we're totally stuck, like we're going absolutely nowhere. It's exhausting, isn't it? Well, in this explainer, we're going to unpack a classic that hits the nail on the head regarding this exact feeling. Stephen R. Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We're going to dive into 7 principles that have the power to completely transform your trajectory, quite literally from the inside out. So, why do we spin our wheels? The answer Covey gives us is honestly both a little frustrating and incredibly liberating. The problem usually isn't a lack of effort. It's not a lack of hustle. The reality is that true effectiveness, that real, lasting success, doesn't start by changing your external circumstances. It's an inside job. It completely starts with changing yourself. Simply put, you just can't control the world around you until you learn to control the world inside of you. All right, let's start with mastering your own mind, which covers habits 1 through 3. Before we can succeed out there in the real world with other people, we really have to achieve self-mastery first. Everything starts from within. And that brings us to habit 1, the absolute foundation of the whole shebang. Be proactive. Look, a lot of people live completely reactive lives. They're always blaming their boss, their family, the economy, or whatever the latest trend is. They'll say, man, my life would be so much better if other people just changed. But proactive people, they realize they cannot control everything. What they can wholly control, however, is their response. Imagine you wake up, you're super pumped for a big day, and it is just pouring rain out of nowhere. You literally can't control the weather. A reactive person is going to let that rain ruin their entire day, complaining all morning and eventually snapping at their coworkers because they're in a terrible mood. But a proactive person, they choose their response. They protect their peace, grab an umbrella, and just get on with their plans. The rain is entirely out of your control, but your response never is. Imagine you have 2 circles in your life. The massive outer ring is your circle of concern. This holds everything you care about but cannot directly control: the weather, social media algorithms, the economy, or other people's opinions view. But right inside of that is a smaller, much more powerful space, your circle of influence. These are the things you can actually impact. Highly effective people shift their focus intensely to this inner circle. Instead of playing the victim, wasting all this energy on that outer ring, and asking, why is this happening to me? They laser focus on the inner ring and ask, okay, what can I do about it? You can't control the algorithm, sure, but you can definitely improve your content. You can't control the past, but you have total control over your behavior today. That is the true essence of being proactive. Now, once you actually take control, you need some direction. That's habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. It's like hopping into a high-performance sports car, slamming the gas pedal, and driving for hours without having any clue where you actually want to go. I mean, you can drive incredibly fast and make great time, but speed simply doesn't matter if you're going in the totally wrong direction. Life works the exact same way. So many of us are frantically busy, just sprinting on the treadmill of life, but we have absolutely no idea what we're actually working toward. So ask yourself right now, what do you want to be remembered for? Take a second and truly imagine the end of your life. What kind of person do you want to be? What values do you want to live by? What lasting contribution do you want to have made to your family, your friends, and your community? Because here's the reality. If you don't intentionally define these answers for yourself before you start the daily grind, society and social media will gladly step right in and dictate your goals for you. You'll spend decades chasing other people's expectations, you'll finally achieve them, and then you'll suddenly realize those goals were never really yours to begin with. You absolutely have to create your vision before you start running. With a crystal clear vision established, you're ready for habit 3. Put first things first. Most of us go through life thinking we have a time problem. We don't. We actually have a priority problem. Every single day, urgent things are just screaming for our immediate attention. Direct messages, app notifications, a nonstop flood of emails, some sudden fire at work. But the truly important things, like your daily exercise, deep learning, building real relationships, and your personal growth, they rarely feel like an emergency today. But here are the very real stakes. If you ignore your health or neglect your relationships, it isn't an emergency this afternoon, But years from now, it will become an irreversible, urgent crisis. We have to intentionally protect our time for the important tasks before they fester into emergencies. Because just being busy is definitely not the same thing as being productive. Now, let's shift into succeeding with other people, which brings us to habits 4 through 6. So now that we've locked down our internal discipline, we need to shift how we collaborate and build deep trust with the outside world. And that brings us to habit 4. Think win-win. We are constantly conditioned to view life as this giant zero-sum competition. We tend to think that for us to win, someone else naturally has to lose. But win-win is all about finding solutions based on mutual benefit. Imagine a typical workplace scenario, right? 2 managers want the exact same promotion. A win-lose mentality totally destroys the team. They undercut each other, they withhold information, and honestly, everyone suffers. But a win-win mindset changes the entire game. They might communicate and ask, hey, how can we both succeed and elevate this entire department? Now, this doesn't mean sacrificing yourself for being a pushover. It means revolutionizing your relationships by fundamentally believing there is an abundance of success to go around for everyone. And here's the thing, you can't possibly build a win-win relationship without habit 5. This just might be one of the most profound communication lessons ever written. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Most people don't listen, they just wait to speak. Ouch, right? That stings a little to hear, but think about it. When someone tells us their problem, before they even finish their sentence, we're already formulating our premature advice in our heads. We interrupt with, oh, you should do this, or just stop worrying about it. But half the time, people don't want immediate advice. They aren't looking to be fixed. They just desperately need to feel understood. If a friend comes to you and says, I'm really stressed about my future, instead of instantly jumping in with a wrench to fix it, try asking them this incredibly simple question. What is making you feel stressed? And then just listen. Seriously, don't interrupt, don't judge, don't sit there silently preparing your brilliant comeback. Actually listen to them. When people feel deeply, genuinely understood, immense trust grows. And when you have trust, communication becomes completely effortless. You have to make the effort to deeply understand them before demanding that they understand you. Which paves the absolute perfect path for habit 6, synergize. Synergy basically means that people working together can create something far better, far more monumental than they ever could on their own. But to unlock this superpower, we have to stop seeing differences as weaknesses. Imagine pairing a highly creative, big-picture visionary with a highly organized, meticulous, detail-oriented person. Separately, they both have great strengths. But together, the result is infinitely more powerful. The most innovative companies and the absolute most successful partnerships in history were built entirely on this exact concept of synergy. You don't need someone who thinks exactly like you. You need someone who sees what you cannot see to challenge you and to elevate you. Finally, we reach the power of renewal with habit 7. Think of habit 7 as the powerful engine that maintains and drives every single thing we've discussed so far today. Habit 7 is sharpen the saw. Because simply put, you are the absolute most important tool you have. Imagine you're walking through a forest and you see someone frantically struggling to cut down a massive tree with a remarkably dull saw. I mean, they've been sweating, straining, and hacking at this thing for hours, making zero progress. You walk up and say, hey, why don't you take a break for a minute and sharpen the saw? And they snap right back at you in exasperation. I don't have time. I'm too busy cutting down the tree. It sounds completely ridiculous, right? Yet this is exactly how so many of us live our everyday lives. We work constantly pushing ourselves to the absolute brink, but we never stop to actually maintain or improve ourselves. So how do we actually sharpen the saw? Well, Covey maps out 4 key areas of renewal. Physical, are you treating your body with respect? Moving it, resting it, feeding it well. Mental, are you feeding your brain by reading, learning, and challenging your own thoughts? Social and emotional, are you actively making the effort to genuinely connect with others and build deep trust? And spiritual, and hey, that doesn't just mean religion. It really means asking, are you taking the quiet time to reflect on your deep purpose and your core values? You just cannot spend your entire life endlessly using yourself up without doing essential maintenance. If you want to remain effective over a lifetime, you must stop to sharpen the blade. Let's move to your 7-day challenge and focus on taking action today. Look, information without application is just entertainment. I really don't want you to try to overhaul your entire life tomorrow. That never, ever works. Instead, I want you to choose just one habit to focus on this week. Pick the exact one that targets your biggest current struggle. If you constantly blame the world, practice being proactive. If you feel lost, create a vision. If you're totally drowning in notifications, set your priorities. Struggling in a relationship? Think win-win, or intentionally practice listening before you speak. If your team is stuck, look for synergy. And if you are just totally, completely exhausted, stop and sharpen the saw. Small changes in your thinking today will eventually create massive changes in how you live. And I really want to leave you with this final provocative thought. You don't become successful simply by doing more things. You become truly effective by doing what genuinely matters. So if the person you become is ultimately more important than the temporary results you achieve, which of these habits will you change today? Change your habits, change your thinking, and you just might change your life.